Hey folks, it's Dr. Gerstmar from Aspire Natural Health. All is quiet now, so end of the day, end of a busy day, helping patients, doing a lot of great work. Everybody's gone home, so it's just me now in the loneliness of these confines and any of you dear watchers who are watching, viewers who are watching with me. Today is day 19 of the 21-day PaleoCleanse. I am almost all the way there. It is going fine, just making my way. Energy's been good and no other complaints. I had thought about kicking this thing up a notch, but life has kept me busy, and you know, the 21-day PaleoCleanse, pretty much as outlined, has worked really, really well. Yesterday we talked about the idea that it's not just what you get out of your body, right? In this case, we're trying to get rid of body burden or toxicity. It's what you put in to your body as well. So all of us who live in this world, which is hopefully everyone here who's watching, is going to be exposed to toxicity. No matter if you live on the top of the tallest mountain, the bottom of the deepest ocean, humans have done a really good job of polluting our environment. So there it is. We are all going to be exposed. However, we can take sensible precautions, which don't include moving to the top of the tallest mountain or the bottom of the deepest ocean. There are things we can do. Yesterday we talked about probably the single biggest thing for people to do, and that's simply a change of diet. So you can go back and look at yesterday. We also talked about your water, your fluids, right? And what you can do, which is simply installing a good water filter on the water that you drink. And some other time we can go into some depth and detail, because there's quite a few pieces there about choosing the best or a good water filter. I wanted to go through some of the other things. So the places that people get exposed to toxicity outside of what they put into their bodies in the form of fluids and foods include obviously the air that we breathe in and the places that we live or are. And so for most of us, that's going to include where we work and where we live. And then lastly, it's going to be things on or around us. So, air, simply put, obviously there are things that we can easily do and things we cannot easily do. So here's the thing we cannot easily do: move to somewhere with fresher air. Easier said than done. You know, we see this most strongly in pictures we get from China, where the air pollution is rampant, and we forgot that a few decades ago it was pretty darn bad here too. We've done quite a bit to clean up the air, but obviously if you're located somewhere where there's a lot of air pollution or air toxicity, if you're around major power plants, other big industrial operations that are going on, mining, etc., 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 that's going to be a major source of toxicity. In fact, we have one patient who we're working with now who lives downstream is probably not the right, downwind, there we go, from a major recycling plant, which you think, well, that sounds pretty reasonable, but studies have unequivocally shown that this plant is in violation of FDA regulations and off-gassing a tremendous amount of toxicity. And the whole neighborhood where this patient lives downwind of this facility, they're suffering from health consequences and health problems and filing a class action lawsuit. So for example, for this particular person, we're advising them that it is in their very best interest to move as soon as possible. Again, we know it's easier said than done. Now, the things that we can do, howdy Les, thanks for joining. The things that we can do for more easily. So moving where you live is not necessarily an easy thing to do. The things that are easier are surrounding yourself more with plants. So plants, as we know, scrub the air, they produce oxygen, but they also clean a lot of toxicity out of the air. Now that can include having more plants around your home and your workplace, or getting yourself out to where more plants are. Now, we're lucky to live in the Pacific Northwest, where we have a lot of forest and other greenery around us, and on many, many levels, more exposure to that is tremendously healing. But one of the things that it does is it reduces some of the toxicity that we're exposed to. So having more plants in and around you, your workplace, your home, and just getting out to places with more plants. Also, an air filter. So getting a simple HEPA air filter can be helpful if we're concerned about the quality of the air that we're breathing. All right, so work is a little more challenging, and many people don't have a lot of say-so about what work is. Certainly if you do, if you can choose where you work, or you have some input into the locations where you work, you would want to choose more toxic, more environmentally friendly, less toxic, words are failing me here, less toxic materials. So that can include things like paints and carpets. Actually, this rolls into both work and home. Wherever possible, we want to choose the less toxic plastics, paints, carpets, furniture, all of these things that can off-gas and cause problems. Now, for a lot of us, we really notice it after a redecoration. If the paint's been on the wall, the carpet's been on the floor a long time, the amount of exposure we're getting is significantly reduced. So where you can, choosing where to work, or choosing or putting input into some of the choices. Now, of course, the flip side is these less toxic alternatives cost more money. So a lot of places, I mean a lot of us in choosing our furniture or other things for our homes, carpet and paint, and a lot of businesses, when they're looking at doing remodeling, they're going to choose the cheaper option. So where you can, or where you have any power, putting in to try and choose some of these more sustainable and less toxic options. Our home, pretty much the same thing. So to the extent that we can, we try and remodel in a way that is toxin friendly. So that can be everything, again, from carpets and floors and walls and paint and furniture, sort of everything in and around the house. Now, one simple thing that people can do that they often don't, here we're moving into fall, the heaters are coming back on, the furnaces. If you've never, or have no idea the last time it happened, took a look at your filter that is on your furnace, I highly recommend you take a look at it. For a few bucks, you should probably ditch that old, nasty, dirty filter and put a new one on there. Now, you can also have a service come out that will clean out all your ducts. A lot of times there's a lot of dust, there can be a lot of mold, there can be a lot of nastiness in there, and when we get that air recirculating throughout the house, that can blow a lot of allergens and a lot of toxicity around. So something to consider for people. Lastly, and I know this is not a complete list, but time ticks and I don't want to make this too long for you folks, we need to be concerned about what we're putting on our bodies. So we think about what we're putting in, but a lot of times we don't think about what we're putting on. This is more pertaining to women, but men need to listen up too. We put a lot of things on our bodies, and that can range from moisturizers and toothpastes and deodorants and antiperspirants, various, types of makeup of all sorts, colognes, perfumes. All of these things, many of them have toxic chemicals and compounds that are in them. Now, you can make yourself a little crazy, but you certainly can take easy and pretty straightforward steps. So, if you're buying the cheapest form of many of these things, they're going to be riddled with toxicity. I recommend that you go over to Environmental Working Group. I've been plugging them throughout these talks. That's EWG, environmentalworkinggroup.org. And they actually have an entire section they've made called Skin Deep, which is all about rating and ranking these various products that people put on or in their bodies so that people can make more informed choices. So, people tend to think, well, I'm not putting it in my mouth, I'm just putting it on my skin. Is that going to affect me? And the answer is yes. The water-soluble compounds, we've talked a lot in this series about the difference between water-soluble and fat-soluble. Water-soluble things, by and large, will not penetrate the skin, but anything that's fat-soluble can go right through the skin and into the body. We want to make better choices about the things we put on or in our bodies. All right, folks, so I'm going to cap it there. We talked about the food you eat, the water or fluids you're consuming, where you're living, where you're working, the quality of the air, and then things you put on or in your bodies. These are all things that we have control over. We can go a little crazy, but we can narrow it down and make sensible changes. And if you need to, you make them one at a time. And those will reduce our overall body burden and lead to overall health and the need to do something like the 21-day paleo cleanse less and less. The less that comes in, the less we have to focus on getting out. All right, folks, that's it for day 19 of the Paleo Cleanse. Again, I'm Dr. Gerstmar at Aspire Natural Health. We are experts at treating digestive problems, autoimmune diseases, and other hard-to-treat cases. If that's you or someone you know, please feel welcome to contact us. We can schedule a complimentary 15-minute consult where you and I can sit down on the phone, talk things through, find out if we're a good match and I can be of service to you, and plot out what the next steps are. All right, folks, until tomorrow, day 20, take care.